Welcome back to the Higher Paradigm YouTube channel and podcast. I am your host, Laura, and today I'm a little ho-hum because it is Mother's Day, but I felt called to speak from my heart and share how I feel, but also offer words of wisdom through my experience of healing the mother wound and healing from a severed relationship with your mother, if that is something that applies to you, the listener, because we don't talk about it all that much in the mainstream. We don't talk about what it feels like to have a mother that does not necessarily deserve praise or recognition or gratitude or love from us. There are those that feel like this is an obligation and it's the right thing to do. So there's obviously still work that needs to be done around your fear of disappointing or being exiled from, your household that no longer applies or exists because you're an adult now, and therefore you can make adult decisions and set boundaries with a parent. Relationship feels very toxic and it brings you down more than it lifts you up. So there's work that needs to be done there. And I do want to talk about that a little bit, but I also want to talk about how it feels to be estranged or no contact with your mother. And the reasons why, and how it's just the deepest hole of grief. This is my fourth Mother's Day with a severed relationship to my mother, and there is no chance in hell that there could ever be a reunion unless there was a lot of work that she was willing to do, a lot of ownership and responsibility she was willing to take. Unless she had an exorcism, there's no chance for a reconciliation. But anything is possible, right? Never say never, but regardless, where we're at right now is there is no relationship. The first year was obviously very, very hard. And I was very angry. And for, reasons relating to this woman who raised me and who birthed me, being okay with not having a relationship with me and not trying. I was so angry about that, but I was also angry about our relationship as a whole, because in my childhood there was a lot of psychological, emotional, physical, sexual abuse, and it was either at the hands of my mother or from the mouth of my mother, or she would turn a blind eye and use me as a scapegoat for why things were happening to me. So fast forward to the time of this separation, when I finally spoke truth to what us children in my family had been through and how we need to protect the future generations from this toxic environment that was our family. Nothing changed. She used me as the scapegoat. She said, I want to create this separation and all this crazy stuff. I could go on, but I don't want to. That's not the point of this episode. And I also have done a lot of work around my relationship with my mother. And I recognize that, she is operating and has always operated from this place of anger and rage and hate and evil, because she is unwilling and unable to reconcile her own past And so she projects all of her anger, all of her hatred for herself and what had been done to her or how she had been treated, and it took on a life within herself about who she is and what she believes about who she is. She projected all of that onto, I mean, I feel like out of all of my siblings, me the most. And for whatever reason, she perceived me as a threat and was offended by me at times and would always just try to break me down so that I didn't think very highly of myself. And I was not the bright, shiny, beautiful soul that I came here to be. But here's the here's what this leads me to, because I know that so many listening to this, if this applies to you, what I know to be true is that what my mother had been through, what your mother had been through, it goes back generations, right? To some degree or in some way, shape, or form. It didn't start with our mothers being assholes. It didn't start with our mothers being terrible mothers and unable to actually parent or do a good job and being the support and the love that we needed. It didn't start with her. It started way farther back. And I feel like so many of us incarnated at this time so that we could, because God and our souls, before we entered onto this planet and into the wombs of our mothers, we were like, we need to bring the collective onto a new timeline and into a new reality. And the way things are going, it's looking pretty glim. And so I think you souls, these souls that have been chosen to become children in the 90s and the early thousands. So what is that? Gen X, and I'm a millennial. So millennials, I mean, there are so many of us that are just feeling the call to either do the work, or maybe we're not quite there yet, but we definitely recognize the problem that has been perpetuating in our lineage for far too long. And we want to end it. We do not want to raise our children with the same issues that we went through, or the same abuse that we went through, or, just suffering in the ways that we did. And we know that our mothers did. And I mean, it does not mean that we should not discipline our children. And we're seeing so much right now, mothers who gentle parent and just flat out don't even discipline their kids. And that's not it either. So there's a middle ground you have to discover through being a mother myself. And I know my listeners who resonate with this episode would agree that it is through our children that we begin to heal, because of that acknowledgement of and that clarity that comes with parenting, that, oh my gosh, well, when I was a kid, my mother would have done things this way. And we, as parents now of these next generations, we get to pause and ask ourselves whether or not we're going to do it that way, or is there some other way that we can parent our children, give them security, stability, discipline, and it be loving. And for me, through the relationship I have with my daughters, I get to love those parts of myself that did not get the love that they needed through the love that I give to my children. When they're going through hard times and they're facing challenges in school or with their friends or at home or with other family members, I get to sit and be the mother that I never got when I needed that. A lot of what I went through was relating to the emotions attached to every experience that I was having. I am a highly sensitive woman. I know that. I was a highly sensitive child. I was intuitive and I could feel the energies at play. I would internalize things. So when my children feel in some way isolated or like they're not good enough, that is my opportunity through the mothering that I give to them, I'm giving to myself. The more safe in my body I feel, because those parts of me that mirror what my children are going through start to heal. And with all of this is a grief. The more that I support my children, the deeper the healing, but the deeper the grief. There's a juxtaposition of pride for being able and willing to hold space for my children. And there's also a grief and an anger for it not being fair that I didn't get the same. And that's okay. So I'm sharing this to give you permission. If you don't already give it to yourself, give yourself permission to acknowledge the sadness that comes with not having a mother that gave you what you needed emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, the love, the hole that is in your heart that can never be filled because that hole was intended for your mother. You can give that love to yourself. And of course, I give it over and over and over. And I also have beautiful, supportive, loving sisters in my life who offer the love that a mother could, which is very satisfying, but it doesn't fill the hole. So there's always going to be a grief, and we can accept that. It is safe to accept that. The hole does start to narrow. It does get smaller. And the more willing you are to feel the pain of not having what you needed, the less that pain invades your daily life. It doesn't just show up as crying, like that type of grief. Grief is also a sister to anger and all of the branches of anger, which can look like judgment, like jealousy, like resentment, like rage. So if it doesn't show up as sadness in your daily life and wanting to cry all the time, it will show up in other ways. And so it is very important to be willing to accept what is so that you can actually be the woman who can love herself and can accept that that mother just doesn't exist in it. And I don't know. For me, I have not had any other mother. I mean, I know that there are women out there and possibly listening to this who have other mother figures in their life that do fill that hole, that do offer maybe not that hole, but they fill a hole, a nurturing hole. But for me personally, there has not been a mother figure who has been able to be that voice of wisdom in my life. I do still find myself at times feeling like I want my mom. And when I say that, it's not my mom that I want, but I want a mom that is able to show up in the ways that I now show up for my children. Like, I still wish I could have that for myself. A mother who would cuddle with me, who would listen to me, who would stroke my hair, who would tell me that I am good enough, that I'm perfect just as I am. You know, there are moments that it would just nourish my soul so much to hear that from my mom. It's beautiful to do the work for yourself and to give that to yourself and to love who you are from within. But there's something that I crave still so much from my mother that I did not get, and I will never get it. And I have accepted that, but that doesn't take away the grief that comes and goes sporadically now. but it does come and go. And today is one of those days. It's come. It's definitely here. I did not anticipate feeling so sad today. The first year, I think I started talking about this in the beginning, but the first year, yeah, there was a lot of anger, a lot of grief. The second year, I facilitated with my dear friend and sister a Mother's Day women's circle. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had as a mother on Mother's Day. And it was so sacred, and it was about us as women and girls. And that's what it should be about. And it was about what we wanted individually as mothers. It wasn't about, oh, well, we usually go to brunch and we usually do this, and I have to do this because that's what my mother wants to do. No, we carved out this time just for us because that's what we wanted to do. And to reclaim our inner mother in that way, or reclaim our femininity in that way, was just so freaking beautiful. And then the last year, I spent it with my daughters, and we just frolicked all over our property. We picked flowers. We just spent the day together. We had a spa day. It was really beautiful. And now this morning, they're not here. They spent the night with their grandparents, which I wholeheartedly encouraged because my mother-in-law deserves recognition as well, and time with her grandgirls. And they're going to be here with me. But before they get back, I feel like I'm just going through this process of grief and feeling that a little bit of anger. Like, it really sucks when you have a mother that doesn't choose you. It really sucks when you have a mother that was never willing to choose you, never willing to take responsibility, or there choose you before her own fear of what could happen if she were honest. All I wanted so much in my childhood and throughout my whole life, basically, was to please her and for her to see me and to think that I'm good and to tell me that she thinks great things about me and that she loves me. There was no shortage of saying I love you in our household. That was not uncommon, but it wasn't backed up with love. Just because you say I love you doesn't mean you show me that you love me. The older I got and the more healing work that I did and the more truth that was coming to the light and the more that I was expressing that truth, I was seeing her more clearly and I was feeling her more clearly and discerning the energy that I was feeling when I was around her or in proximity of her. And not just her, this is also my family, but she's my mother. She was supposed to protect me and she just did not. So severing ties and stepping away has really allowed me to reclaim my own energy and take back my power because I gave her so much of it. And if she was chirping in my ear still, I don't know that I would have been capable of reclaiming that power because it was just so clouded, my abilities to let go of what she believed or what she thought of me or the energy that I was absorbing from her, because I absorbed so much of this woman's energy. And definitely have been major fat, juicy cords energetically attached between her and I. And I still feel like there probably are some, but thankfully, I definitely feel more empowered and I know who I am. And I don't hear the voices as prominently and as intensely as I once did. And it's not to say I'm not still doing the work, though, which brings me back to the point that I still feel today, especially, I still feel this anger and this rage a little bit inside that I need to let myself feel around. Why couldn't you be willing to change? Why couldn't you be willing to be the mother that I needed? that all of my siblings needed. Why couldn't you? But what I know to be true is that we have to look at it through the lens of, what did it take for me to be willing to see things clearly, take responsibility, accept things, stop denying? And what did it take for me to be able to do the work, to start doing the work, to see things the way that I see them? What did it take for me? And maybe in some ways you feel like it didn't take much. Like, I just became a mom and like I started to mother my child. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But again, maybe our parents' purpose was not the same as ours. That's the first thing. But I guess tied to that is a lack of willingness to take any responsibility or accept that it was not okay for our mothers to say, I am sorry, and it is absolutely not okay. I mean, can you imagine? Well, I can. I'm sure you can. Like, what that would feel like, how uncomfortable that would be to finally take responsibility and accept that you were a shitbag mom, like that you did some fucked up shit and that you really damaged your children. Can you imagine like what that would feel like in their nervous system? Not to say that it's not possible, because there's gotta be mothers out there that are willing to go into that. But those that aren't, there's the unwillingness. Again, it sucks and it's not fair. And you should feel all of that. You should accept all of that as real within you and allow yourself to go into that unfairness and what emotions that evoke. But we ultimately have to remember that this unwillingness is not a reflection of us. We are deserving. We are worthy. We are good enough. We do deserve the love that we needed. And there are ways that we can give it to ourselves and get it from people that, genuinely love us in our lives, and let them be who they are. And for me, that means you be who you are, way far, far away from me. And I just can't let that level of toxicity in my life anymore, because it literally mind fucks me. And I do believe I'm strong and that I'm capable of getting through whatever mental manipulation or psychological abuse that could be bestowed upon me if I resumed a relationship with my mother. But is it worth it? Because the work that I have to do within myself in order to overcome the manipulation and the psychological warfare is just, to me, it's just exhaustive, and it's not worth it. Not only that, but I do believe my mom personally is genuinely got evil moving through her, and I don't need or want that level of demon darkness in my life. And I don't want it in my field, and I don't want it around my children. I know that there are those who might be listening to this, and you do feel like your relationship with your mother brings you down more than it lifts you up. It's just very difficult and very, very exhausting. And so I know that there's a lot to work through when it comes to setting boundaries, but it is absolutely important, and it is one of the greatest forms of self-love and self-preservation is setting a boundary. And so I know one of the things is fear of being ridiculed or yelled at or exiled or whatever it is, whatever fear comes up around setting a boundary with your mother or confronting your mother. Get very honest with yourself. remember that you are an adult now. And when that fear comes up, is it your actual adult self who is sitting in your skin right now? Or is it a former version of you that is asking for you to help her feel safe? And the way that she can feel safe and not be afraid of your mother is through you, because you are this younger version of you within you's mother now. And so by you sticking up for yourself, you're sticking up for her in a way that she never got. And therefore, it will help to ease your nervous system. It will help to heal your nervous system, and it'll help to heal those former versions of yourself. If we keep shrinking to our mother, then that former version will always believe that she has the power. But the truth is that you do. As your adult self now, we no longer need to bow down or to shrink to our mother anymore. If you feel shame or guilt around setting boundaries or not visiting your mother or doing things for your mother or giving her what she needs, but by giving her what she needs in some way, shape, or form, it's then abandoning yourself. If that's going on and there's guilt and shame around doing things differently, I want you to get very honest with yourself about your guilt, because guilt and shame means you did something bad and wrong. And so I want you to ask yourself, is taking care of yourself, prioritizing your needs and your life, is there something morally bad or wrong when you do that? Is it out of alignment with who you are and what your morals are and what you believe? Is it out of alignment? If you choose yourself, if you choose a boundary, if you choose to say no, if you choose to do things differently, because we have a tendency to feel guilty for things that are not ours to feel guilty for. And we can let that go now. If you know in your heart you're not doing anything actually bad or wrong within your morals and values, then you're not doing anything bad or wrong. It's just a belief system or a pattern that has been playing out for probably your whole life. And it's time to let it die now. And you can ask yourself too, where does this guilt, feeling bad or wrong come from? Is it actually me? What I like to do, and you could do this, I guess, one of two ways. You can look at this through the lens of, well, if my child asked for space or said she set a boundary with me, how would I feel about that? Would I respect that? Through the lens of doing things differently than the way your parents did it, right? We want to teach our children how to express themselves and how to say no and how to set a boundary. We want them to have that level of self-respect and self-love, right? So doesn't that apply to you with your own mother as well? Right? And then also, I guess you could look at this through the lens of your mother. When you were a child, what came first? Your needs or her needs? Just reframe the way that you're feeling about your own guilt when you want to set boundaries, or you want to take a step back, or you want to limit how often you're visiting or how often you're supporting your mother, or whatever it is. It's just a way to reframe the way that you're perceiving and experiencing this so that you can come back into alignment with your own truth and find healing within yourself and find your power, like your own individual experience, rather than it being tethered to your mother. I've been through that stage and phase of my relationship with my mother as well, where I had to set some major boundaries. And of course, that's not to say that everyone who starts this process of setting boundaries with your mother will eventually end up with no relationship. That's not the case at all. I hope that that doesn't happen for you at all. If that's what feels true and right for your heart and your life, that's a really big decision to make. And I know that a lot of children, or now adults of this generation, are going no contact with their parents. That's really sad to me. I would not have gone no contact with my mom unless I thought it was absolutely what I had to do for the safety and the well-being of my children and of myself. And that's exactly what it was. The relationship that I had, not just with her, but my whole family, was very dark and toxic and very much bonded by trauma. And it just was not healthy. And I did not feel my children needed to be exposed to that, to take on the energy of any of that. It's time for this to end. So it was absolutely crucial that we end these relationships. But it was not easy, and it still is not. There's a lot of grief I still feel. I don't recommend, severing ties or going no contact with your parents unless there's abuse or unless they are not good for your overall health or the overall health of your children. So that is something to think about. And if you feel like avoiding your parents or running away from your parents or going no contact, I invite you to go inward and ask yourself if there's work that needs to be done, obviously. With a therapist, yeah. But of course, I believe talk therapy just brings you to spinning in circles. You have to get into your body. You have to do the work. Getting into your body, healing your nervous system, working with the inner child, all of those things so that you can reconcile what you've been through and you can reparent those parts of you and feel safe to be in spaces with your parents that might not share in the important work that you're doing and not share in the ways that you're raising your children. You can be in a space and feel empowered and solid in who you are and not let it trigger the fuck out of you and not feel this need to run away. So whether you're estranged from your mother or severing ties from your mother, or you're setting boundaries, or you're just beginning to recognize the damage that was done, you are here on this planet for a reason. And what I know to be true is part of that reason is to break the cycle, to end the patterns, and to bring your lineage on a new timeline so that us collectively in humanity can bring more love into the future, more connection, more truth, more wisdom. And so that future generations don't have to suffer the way we did and our parents did and their parents and so on and so forth. So congratulations. You are a cycle breaker. It's not a burden. It might feel like it sometimes. I absolutely agree. But this is about the unburdening. This is the journey of unburdening. So enjoy the ride. I am right here with you. You are not alone. There are so many of us who are going through this in some way, shape, or form. And I'm here for you. Want to connect over this episode and what we talked about today? You can certainly email me at shstudios32323@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below. I would love to connect with you and have a conversation around this particular topic or any of the other topics that I discuss in this podcast. And yeah, of course, as always, like, subscribe, follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And I will leave it there for now. Thank you so much for being here. Much love and many blessings to you.